Over the last 25 years, I've had the privilege of interviewing and highlighting some truly interesting people. Everyone who is anyone, both the famous and the infamous. From presidents and their first ladies to kings and queens, pop stars and movie stars, captains of industry, heads of state, sports personalities, innovative entrepreneurs, and some pretty fascinating everyday people. Today, I am proud to introduce you to Michael Girard, a Colorado distillery owner who successfully turned his hobby into a business that he hopes to one day pass down to future generations. Michael, it's a pleasure to meet you. I know that you served in our military with honor, and I want to first of all say thank you on behalf of a grateful nation for your military service. Take me through a little bit about your military service because that part of your career is what led to this part of your career.
Well, thank you. Yes. Thanks for having me, first of all. This is great. My military career started right out of high school. I joined the Army right out of high school, went basic training, stationed in various places all over the country, from Alaska to Fort Lewis, Washington, Fort Bliss, Texas. And it was just a means of, getting out of northeastern Montana where I grew up. I got tired of working at a feedlot / grain elevator and wanted to go out and do something on my own.
And of course, the military offers you a great opportunity to one, serve your country, but also explore other parts of our country and hopefully parts of the world. But once you left the military, you decided to move into an entrepreneurial role. So what was that transition like moving from the military to entrepreneurship?
It was actually, it was, I wouldn't say it was seamless. There were some issues, being a business owner, going from a explosive ordnance disposal technician in the Army, disarming bombs, to owning a business. It's quite a different ball of wax. So
yeah, it's a different kind of disarming of bombs, if you know what I mean.
there was a learning curve. Absolutely. You got to pay a lot more taxes. You got a lot more paperwork to do. So it took took about 2 or 3 years to make sure I was doing everything right.
So it's interesting because as a distiller, I think, okay, is he making vodkas or is he making gins or is he making whiskey? And then I read he's making moonshine. Well, you're talking to a country girl here. So talk to me about distilling moonshine.
Right. Distilling moonshine is no different than making whiskey, vodka, rum. The process is the same. The difference is the materials that you're using, what you're fermenting. And in Colorado moonshiners historically throughout Prohibition used what was available to them, and that was beet sugar. Colorado's main source of revenue, or their cash crop at the time during Prohibition, was sugar beets. They produced granulated sugar, and that was an easily accessible source of fermentable for moonshiners to make a unique spirit they called sugar moon. So we follow those same traditions and make a true traditional Colorado moonshine.
So, of course, you were smart enough to see that there was a niche there that you could fill and also stick with the culture and the heritage of the community so that you fit right in, quite frankly.
Right, exactly. That was exactly it. There's a lot of distilleries. There's over 100 distilleries in Colorado alone. They all make kind of the same thing. They make a lot of whiskey, rum. There's a lot of vodka out there in Colorado, and there was a few distilleries that made a style of moonshine, but it wasn't really Colorado because it was corn-based, and corn-based moonshine was mostly made out east. It was made in the South,
Yeah.
in Appalachian Mountains, in Kentucky, Tennessee, but Colorado was different. So reading into the history, which is relatively unknown, especially even to Coloradans, that there was a history of moonshine, bootlegging, and organized crime throughout Prohibition that a lot of people didn't know about. We're kind of trying to bring that forward now, as well as not just a fine spirit, but also a little bit of a historical background to why we make what we make.
And so there's a little bit of cultural heritage, a little bit of history, and a whole lot of moonshine. So what makes the quality of your product stand out amongst the competitors? This is the time for the shameless plug here. So
Sure.
I need to know what makes this good stuff.
Well, what makes it good stuff is our process, we don't do any filtering. We make it pretty much the same way moonshiners did 100 years ago. There's a misconception that moonshiners, throughout Prohibition, were making unhealthy spirits just to make money, which is kind of far from the truth. The distillers and the moonshiners back then knew what they were doing. They brought these recipes and formulas and things over from, from overseas. They're immigrants. They came from Scotland, Ireland. They brought that knowledge with them, and they made quality spirits. And so that's what we wanted to do. So we follow those same traditions, all natural ingredients, even our flavorings. We have 13 different flavors right now. We use all natural ingredients. If it wasn't available to a moonshiner living in the woods or in the mountains of Colorado 100 years ago, I won't use it now. So it's all natural ingredients. Our yeast is no big secret. We use baker's yeast, something that, those moonshiners' wives were making bread with. They use that as well to make their moonshine.
It sounds like you figured out the holy grail of moonshine is really just doing it the natural way, and letting those wonderful flavors sort of take over. I know that participating in your community is extremely important to you. Have you had the opportunity to bring your entrepreneurial spirit into the community and give back in some ways?
We do. We have we support a lot of nonprofit organizations here in Colorado, in the Colorado Springs, Denver metro area as well. Everything from All Breeds, which is part of adopting pets. All Breeds is mostly it's a dog adoption program. Also, a lot of veteran organizations. One of the things that we really started focusing on in the last couple of years is our support of veterans' mental health. Me coming from 23 years in the Army, I retired. Didn't realize that I had any issues until a couple of years ago when we had one of our staff members take their own life. And, the suicide rate in the veteran community has been rising. And it's been an issue. And I didn't feel that doing 22 push-ups a day for 22 days on Facebook was enough for me. I wanted to do something that was interactive and getting help to vets who need it. So that was contacts local organizations that can help them with the therapies that they need to get their mental health straight and try and help those who really need it. So we came up with, me and my wife, with that was called the 0K for veterans' mental health. And the 0K means there's no running. We brought everybody together, and a whole bunch of organizations like the Invictus Project, Marcus Institute, all these organizations, they really focus on veterans' mental health. It's all free to veterans. They can get them the therapies and things they need to get their mental health right to combat PTSD, TBIs, which I suffered from. And didn't realize I was having as many issues until we had this event. My wife was like, maybe you should go and talk to some of these people. And I found out that I am a better person now from doing that. And now we're trying to get that information out more.
That's fantastic. Absolutely. And I know that this is an issue that is really pervasive in our country with our servicemen and women. And to put your community focus in that direction is a guarantee that it will help people and, I believe, save lives. Michael, I know there are a number of people who are going to watch this interview, and they're thinking to themselves that they might want to start a business, or they might want to enhance their business. So give us a little insight. Were you self-taught in business, or did you have some formal training to help prepare you? Give those budding entrepreneurs the benefit of your experience.
Well, unfortunately, I was self-taught.
That's not unfortunate. I think you're doing just fine.
Oh, it's a learning curve. I tell you what, there's a lot of heartburn and headaches when it comes to teaching yourself. I would recommend anybody, especially veterans getting out of the military, get as much education in business as you can so you understand a little bit better than what I did. I kind of relied on my investors who, helped me with this because they were entrepreneurs, they were business owners. But relying on somebody else is not the best option. Build your own mind, figuring it out yourself, but getting that education yourself so you know what to do. I recommend anybody to do. That's just from my experience. But also, if you're transitioning in the military, take those chances. I took a chance on it. My wife was like, she was scared. She was like, I don't know about this. We got this. We've got this. We got this sustained life for 23 years where we always had a paycheck, always were able to be able to take care of ourselves. Now it's a big unknown. We bumped up a lot of credit cards to do this, but it was something that, being my own boss and transitioning this, she was extremely supportive. So having that supportive background as well, it was really helpful. But find that niche, find that something that's a little bit different, and don't be afraid to take a chance.
Let me ask you if there was any one thing that you know now that you've been in business that you wish you knew when you first started.
There's a lot. Oh, good Lord. Uh, uh, just being a people person,
Okay.
being in the military and the type of environment, the job that I was in, you're trained to be a type A personality. So just talking everyday things with somebody who's never been in the military, somebody who's never experienced that, is I wish I would have known then what I know now is I would probably have a lot less negative comments on social media, on our website, and our Facebook page, where I have to explain that to my wife. Like, well, it wasn't my fault; it was his fault. That doesn't really.
Yeah, customer service is a big, big deal when you are now going to
Yeah.
be dealing individually with civilians. They're not used to that sort of gruff military style, but
Yeah.
that gruff military style is discipline, and it sort of prepares you for that other side of entrepreneurship, which is how you have to stick to it and use that discipline to make sure that you're doing all the things you need to do, crossing the T's and dotting the I's. I know that you are looking at this business as something that you can pass down for future generations. So, where do you see your career in the future, Michael?
My career, retirement on a beach. And I'll let my
Don't we
daughter take
all?
this all over. I'm training her up right now. My daughter's 30 years old. She's got 3 kids. She works for the company, and I'm teaching her everything I possibly can to kind of take this over and go further with it. I mean, where it goes is where it goes. You know, I can be the face from afar or whatever, but I've already retired from one career, and I don't want to. I don't want to retire. I've got enough issues, you know, physically and emotionally from all the things that I did for 23 years in the Army, that I don't want to retire when I'm 70 years old like my dad did, and be hindered by physical
Mhm.
and emotional and mental kind of aspects. I really want to try and retire in the next 5-10 years, and be able to take my wife on trips to Florida and Cancun and do the things that we never got to do
You know,
together.
I'm so grateful to hear you say that because my parents made the decision that they were going to retire right at ages 65, and they got to really do some traveling around the world, hang out with each other, and really enjoy time. And so I think you got the right idea, my dear. I think you have the right idea. Finally, let me just ask you, what's the one thing you'd like the viewer of this video feature to walk away with today?
I, that was the one question I was looking at. Like, what do I want to put out there? I think a lot of it mostly is on the veterans side of the house. Don't be afraid to take those chances when you're transitioning. Transition is hard because especially if you're in a career field like the military, the Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines. I talk to all of them all the time here, and they come to me with questions. Don't be afraid to take that step. Yes, it is. It is scary to do so, but don't settle with something that you're not going to be happy with. Be happy in what you choose after the military, because your career in the military might not have made you who you are, but what you do afterwards will. You carry that veteran status with you everywhere. What you do after that, just go in both feet and don't be afraid of it, and reach out to those that are in your support line if you need help. I can't push that enough, especially on the veteran side of the house. Don't be afraid to get help. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you any worse than anybody else, but it'll make you a better person. Live a quality of life after service.
I completely agree with you, Michael, and I will just leave you with this one word, and I think you would agree with me. Change is inevitable, but growth is optional. And this is the time for us to step out and grow into the space that we will be most comfortable. Thank you so very much for your time today. I wish you the very best.
Thank you.